The lunch crowd at the Grand Meridian Hotel moved like clockwork, silver trays gliding through the air, polished shoes crossing marble floors, crystal glasses catching sunlight from the tall windows. It was the kind of place where money spoke softly because everyone already knew who had it. Emma adjusted the cuff of her black uniform and balanced a tray of sparkling water on one hand. She had worked there for 3 years, long enough to master the art of invisibility. Great servers knew how to appear exactly when needed and disappear before becoming noticeable. At table 12 sat a man everyone had noticed the second he entered. Victor Reinhardt. The billionaire tech investor from Germany had arrived in a tailored charcoal suit, flanked by 2 assistants and the kind of confidence that made room for itself. His face had appeared on magazine covers beside headlines about acquisitions, innovation, and ruthless deals. People whispered his name like it carried its own gravity. Emma approached with practiced calm. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the Grand Meridian. May I offer you still or sparkling water?" Victor looked up slowly, his eyes moving over her name tag, her plain bun, her sensible shoes. Then he smirked. "In Germany," he said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear, "we train staff to speak with confidence. Here, you sound like you are apologizing for existing." His assistants chuckled. A silence spread across the dining room. Forks paused midair. Emma felt heat rise in her neck, but her voice remained even. "Sparkling or still, sir?" Victor leaned back in his chair. "Sparkling. Perhaps bubbles will give this place some life." She poured the water without trembling. Years earlier, she might have cried in the restroom. Now she simply noted the type, wealthy man who mistook cruelty for wit. Throughout the meal, Victor continued. When the bread arrived late by 2 minutes, he muttered in German, assuming no one understood. "Even slowness here wears lipstick." When the soup was warm instead of hot, he said, "Remarkable. They have found a way to disappoint with temperature." Each remark drew uncomfortable smiles from his assistants. Emma responded only with professionalism. She replaced dishes, refilled glasses, and cleared plates as if his words were background music. What Victor didn't know was that Emma understood every sentence. She had grown up in Munich. Her father had been a machinist there before losing his job. Her mother cleaned offices at night while Emma studied language and economics by day. When her father became ill, the family moved to be closer to relatives abroad. Dreams were postponed. Tuition disappeared. Emma took work wherever she could find it. First laundromats. Then diners. Then the Grand Meridian. She had once spoken at university debates in flawless German, discussing labor markets and ethics in international business. Now she carried soup to men who believed uniforms erased intelligence. Dessert menus arrived. Victor waved Emma over. "Tell me," he said in English, smiling thinly, "is serving tables your ambition, or merely your ceiling?" One assistant laughed too hard. Nearby guests stared openly now. Emma folded her hands behind her back. "My ambition, sir, is to do whatever honest work is needed with dignity." Victor clapped once, mockingly. "A philosopher waitress. Charming." He switched to German and said to his table, "People who fail always rename survival as dignity." The assistants laughed again. Emma looked at him for a long moment. Then, in precise, elegant German, she replied, "And people who inherit comfort often rename arrogance as achievement." The room went still. Victor's smile vanished so quickly it seemed wiped away. One assistant nearly dropped his spoon. Emma continued in German, calm and clear enough for him alone to hear, though the tone told everyone something had changed. "You also misquoted Goethe earlier to impress your guests. And your grammar has slipped twice since." "The appetizer." Victor blinked. She switched back to English. "Would you care for coffee, sir?" No one moved. Victor stared at her as if seeing her for the first time, not as a waitress, not as furniture, but as a person standing perfectly upright beneath his gaze. "Where did you learn German?" he asked quietly. "In Munich," she said. Before life became more practical. A woman at the next table hid a smile behind her napkin. Victor cleared his throat. "Leave us." His assistants looked confused. "Now." They rose immediately and moved toward the lounge. The dining room buzzed with whispers. Emma expected anger, perhaps a complaint. Instead, Victor gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Sit for 1 minute." "I'm working, sir." That was not a request, he said automatically, then caught himself. He exhaled. "Please." She remained standing, but she listened. Victor looked down at his untouched dessert. "My father was a waiter," he said. "Berlin. Night shifts. He wanted me to rise high enough never to serve anyone." "And did you?" Emma asked. "I built companies. Bought buildings. Owned jets." He gave a humorless laugh. "Yet somehow I still perform for rooms like a boy seeking applause." Emma said nothing. He rubbed his temples. "He used to come home exhausted, hands shaking from carrying trays. I hated seeing him bowed before rich men." "So you became one," Emma replied gently. He looked at her sharply, then slowly nodded. For the first time, there was no billionaire in front of her. Just a tired man wearing success like armor. "I did mockery before anyone could mock me," he said. "A useful strategy. Expensive, though." Emma glanced at the dining room manager, who was pretending not to watch. "My break is in 20 minutes, she said. "You can continue then as a customer who knows how to speak respectfully." To everyone's surprise, Victor smiled. "That sounds fair." When Emma returned from break, he was waiting in the hotel courtyard alone, no assistants, no phone in hand. The afternoon sun had softened the hard lines of his face. He stood as she approached. "I owe you an apology," he said. Publicly. Inside the dining room, he asked the manager for attention. Conversations quieted. Victor faced Emma. "I behaved disgracefully today. I confused status with worth and wealth with wisdom. A mess. Emma showed me more class in one sentence than I displayed all afternoon. I apologize to her and to your staff." Gasps and murmurs swept the room. The manager, stunned, nodded. Emma accepted with a small incline of her head. "Thank you." But Victor wasn't finished. He turned to the manager. "I would also like to fund language and hospitality scholarships for your employees, any staff member wishing to study further, management included." Now even the kitchen doors cracked open. Emma crossed her arms. "Why?" "Because talent should not remain invisible because it wears an apron." The weeks that followed brought real change. Not headlines, Victor requested none, but tuition grants, training programs, childcare support, and fair wage reviews across several hotels he invested in. Emma enrolled in evening business courses. Months later, Victor returned to the Grand Meridian. This time he came alone, waited patiently, and greeted every staff member by name when he could. Emma approached his table. "Still or sparkling, sir?" He smiled. "Whichever is served without arrogance." She poured sparkling water. As she turned to leave, he said, "For what it's worth, that reply did leave me speechless." Emma looked back. "No," she said warmly. "It simply taught you to listen." And for the first time in a very long life, Victor Reinhardt did exactly that.